The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
How did the Denver Nuggets beat the Thunder in Game 1?
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast.
Somehow? Against all odds?
Just an insane. Like, I said this right before. This was the definition of a stolen win. Like, the Thunder were up the entire game. Denver just kept hanging around. They made every big shot to just stay within striking distance. Jokic made that 3 to cut it to 1, and then Denver played the foul game, and holy cow, man. Aaron Gordon, once again, the hero of the moments. Like, dude's on another level in these playoffs. It has been awesome. A privilege to watch Aaron Gordon play basketball this year.
God, he's insane. Like, he's just insane. He's just the Russ making the pass, AG spotting up for that shot, knocking it down. What an incredible story. By the way, with Aaron Gordon on the floor tonight, the Denver Nuggets had a 17.5% offensive rebound rate. That's high. Seven
offensive rebounds for him alone, I believe. Like, he was fighting the entire time. There were several possessions where it was him going up against the smaller wings on the Thunder, or just big boying Chet Holmgren, big boying Isaiah Hartenstein. Like, it's incredible to watch him. And look, I don't care if anybody kills us for the takes that we had. Everything that we had was built in logic, and there was no logic that went into that win. Zero.
None. Zero. Like, that game, like, Nikola Jokic had 7 turnovers and 6 assists in this game.
Yeah.
Now, Nikola Jokic also had 42 points and 22 rebounds.
Monster.
And was a monster.
Yeah.
Look, man, I got a history of the game that says that coming off of Game 7s, you lose this game and you lose them badly. Teams that lost in this spot when they're not rested off 2 days rest and the opponent is rested, you know what the average margin of victory since 2003 is? 19 points per game. That's how often the other team wins.
And wins big.
And wins massive.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets just hung. And there were all these times when I was like, all right, well, the Thunder are going to hit him with a haymaker and then they'll go down.
Yeah.
And every time that OKC would push it to 14, Russ would make a play.
Yep.
AG would make a play.
Yep.
Christian would make a play. And it's back inside single digits. And they just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. And when you do that and you hang on, you can clown me all you want. I don't regret the analysis, because it was reasonable to expect humans to be tired, to be exhausted after that series and that game and travel and in this spot for them to go down. It is not, in my opinion, a failure of my analysis. It is a credit to the heart, hustle, grit, and absolute stubbornness of the Denver Nuggets that they will not go away. This remains the most mentally tough team in basketball. And when they are faced with challenges like this, and when all odds are up against them, they respond. They responded. And it's absolutely incredible. Credit to David Adelman and the staff. Credit to all the players. But also, they were down by 14 for the majority of this game. And then in the last 5 minutes, the Thunder just absolutely imploded. All the experience stuff that I was hesitant, because I was like, well, they're just so well executed and they're so well coached and they're so disciplined. They rush shots. They force
on it.
Like, they miss all of these types of like key clutch things versus the Nuggets, who were like, we need this play, make it happen. We need this play. Jokic, like, jab steps Chet into oblivion and nails that 3 to make it a 1-point game.
Like, sometimes you just know what it takes. And I think, and I have certainly underrated the Nuggets throughout this entire process, and them understanding what it takes to win in some of these moments, especially these close games. Like, they've lost a couple of close games, but in some of them they just didn't have it. This one, it felt like they for the entire time, just never gave an inch. There were a couple of times that they missed, like Russell Westbrook missed the 3-pointer in the left corner. And I thought, okay, like Aaron Gordon gets the rebound, goes up strong, doesn't finish because there's two guys around him. I thought, okay, that's it. That's the one. But then OKC just kept playing the foul game, and Mark Daigneault, like, fouling very aggressively, very early in the shot, in the game clock.
Again, like that's so I'll just say this. That's everyone misunderstands Daigneault, I feel like, because I'm just like, guys, do you understand the reason he does all this stuff is because of how much he respects the Nuggets?
Sure.
That's why he's like trying to get Jokic away from all the quick action, because he knows how much it kills teams.
Yeah.
That's why he's fouling up three, because he's like, I'm not giving Nikola Jokic a chance to win this game.
And like, I get it. Totally understand. But for OKC not to execute in that moment, also, by the way, very funny that the ball just dropped on that final missed free throw. The ball hits the floor in the middle of all the Nuggets, and I threw up my hands like, like, what are you doing? So it's the fact that this game went Denver's way is just incredible. Like, I said this on social, this is probably the most incredible win of the Nikola Jokic era. Last 10 years. I cannot remember another one. People brought up the 7. This was like the 7 in a game won on the road against the best team in the NBA. The Utah game is regular season game after the trade deadline. Nobody cares. This one, holy cow, man. The fact that they have the resilience to even find a way to get that done is just unbelievable.
I hated the way this game was officiated. I hated it. I hated it on all sides. I hated it. Also, a conversation you and I often have about certain people and their behavior in terms of drawing fouls. We're going to revisit the next time.
No, we are not doing that tonight. That is not acceptable tonight.
Why?
Because this is a time for celebration. This is a time for a win.
Oh, not tonight. I'm just saying on Friday we're going to revisit it.
Okay, well, yeah, when I'm complaining about SGA foul calls, yes, we can revisit it.
But also, I will just say, like, that was a huge part of this game, though. The Nuggets shot 33 free throws. They shot 33. Now, they were fouling up 3, right? So,
yeah,
like, what, 3 sets of those are in that kind of a set. But Jokic gets to the line for 13 in this game.
Yeah.
Like, and it was the aggression. Like, he was, and I wondered going in, as much as, here's the thing, this is what annoys me so much, is like, I said the game 1. I said last night on the show when I was breaking this down, I was like, yeah, they're going to lose game 1. You do data work for game 2. And I was going to like them in game 2.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when I start looking at the matchups, I'm just like, well, no, like Chet and Hartenstein are not Zoo. They're just not the same guy.
Yes.
It's not about better, worse. It's about what type of player are you? How big are you? How strong are you? What are your arms? What's your length? How do you play? They're not the same guy. And that's evident by the fact that Joker just had the best game of the playoffs and absolutely dominated them and got a number of really questionable calls. Like he was absolutely a monster in this game. And this is what's going to happen is, like, in this series, he's going to get those guys in foul trouble and they're going to have to play small. And that's when AG is going to bust them, because AG just continues to be an absolute tank. An absolute tank. Aaron Gordon night, 22 points, 7 of 15 shooting, 3 of 6. If I told you last year Aaron Gordon was going to be 3 of 6 in a playoff game, you would have been like, that is the 99th outcome. And this year, it's like,
what I would have been like is like, okay, so they got the Aaron Gordon game in that moment. This is just what Aaron Gordon's game is now at this stage of his career, that is the real credit to him and all the work that he put in. It was a weakness for him last year. Frankly, it has been a weakness for him for his entire career. And for him to go around last offseason and just lock himself in the gym and turn himself into a shooter that's more comfortable with his shot and more comfortable in situations like these. Like, he's always been a player that is capable of making clutch plays, but the fact that he's able to do it over and over again, like, the competence and the confidence that he has in himself in this moment, it's at another level. He has leveled up as a player.
Jalen Williams was 5 of 20. Chet Holmgren, 5 of 11. Like, Shea wound up with 33 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. I did not feel him in this game at all.
I thought Shea was great. First and fourth quarter, he was very great. But in the middle of this game, where Denver was just kind of hanging around, not a lot of Shea. Not a lot of Shea in that moment.
They got 20 points from Alex Caruso on 7 of 12 shooting and 5 of 9 from 3.
He was an absolute absolute sociopath on the defensive end. Just unbelievable. What I would give to have a guy like that, frankly, Russ did that in game 7, so I'm not going to complain that much, but holy cow, just being able to go to your bench and be able to go get that guy is insane. That's going to make a difference throughout the series.
It's really, Caruso was so good that all Nuggets fans are just like, God, that guy's good. Everybody's like, God, that guy's awesome.
He's so annoyingly good.
I can't believe Aaron Gordon just had that game. He's had these playoffs. He's just been a monster.
Yeah.
He's been so physical with these guys, and he is just bullying them. Let's talk about Russ, man. Let's talk about Russ. 18 points on 7 of 13 shooting, 1 of 5. He had the wide open 3, which would have been for I think the tie, and missed it. And everybody's like, how are you giving that to Russell Westbrook? And I was like, he's made those. He's made those.
No, I honestly, they gave it to him in those places consistently. He made them in the last series, didn't make it so far in this game. I'm willing to keep going to that. And frankly, they need him out there because Mike was just he was horrible in this game. We don't have to talk about that much, but he was not really present. But Russ's third quarter was such a big deal in terms of changing the tide, changing the energy. Denver was it was that moment to me that I was like, okay, this is one where you feel like it could slip. This is the time where you feel like it could go from 10 to 20 very quickly. And the fact that Russ over and over again in that third quarter not only helped them keep it keep it close, but they actually cut into the lead, and it was a 5-point deficit by the time they're going into the fourth quarter. Russ deserves a ton of credit. He has been so consistent in this entire playoff run. Just incredible. Not a perfect first half for him in this one, but who cares? He was great in the third.
There's nothing like the energy of a live game, whether it's catching a last-minute Major League Baseball showdown or soaking up the excitement of an NBA matchup. But finding great seats at a great price, that used to be a challenge until Gametime. With last-minute deals, all-in prices, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as the beginning of the game gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
The second round is off to a bang as the New York Knicks take the upset win in Game 1.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
108-105. Knicks beat the Celtics. So many places to go with this. It ends up going to overtime. There's a would-be Jalen Brunson game winner at the end of regulation that just barely doesn't go in at one of his signature shots. Honestly, one of the best after timeout plays I think I've ever seen drawn up from Tibbs. So clearly he saved some of his best work for this game. Just phenomenal defense from Mikal Bridges. Phenomenal defense and shot making from OG Anunoby, who just had his impact felt all over this game. I mean, where do you want to start this one on this crazy first game in the second round?
First, I'm in a hotel room, so I didn't want to scream too loud. But I'll just let it out now. Let's go! This is the first time in months this team has made me feel something. I know some of you have commented on that, but I've been in kind of a place of acceptance that this was just maybe not the worst case scenario for the Knicks in the sense there wasn't some kind of traumatic injury this year, but it did feel like, given the talent that they assembled and the fact that talent was relatively healthy, that this was going the wrong way, at least to me. And not that tonight necessarily changes that. The Knicks obviously benefit from the fact that the Celtics miss 45 3-pointers in this game, which is the most, I think, by a decent margin that any team has ever missed in a single playoff game. And yet, Alex, if I told you coming in that the Knicks would give up 19 offensive rebounds in this one and would shoot 17 to 31 from the foul line, I would have said they probably would lose by 25 plus. But given the way the Celtics shot, given all the misses, this became a game that the Knicks absolutely had to win. And it's why it was so incredibly gut-wrenching when that shot that Jalen Brunson, I mean, we've seen him hit game winners just in this playoffs that have a degree of difficulty of 1,000-fold compared to that. Not that it's an easy shot, right? Al Horford's right there. He got a great contest on it, but that is a shot that Jalen Brunson makes in his sleep. It goes in and out, and you just had this sinking feeling like the basketball gods gifted one to the Knicks. And as this happened so often this year, like they couldn't accept the gift. And then they put together an incredibly gutty overtime. And despite the fact that Brunson, I think maybe I should have double checked this, maybe has 2 points in OT, but is pretty much a non-factor because Drew Holiday plays great defense on him. The Knicks are still able to somehow, some way, but he does not score in overtime. The Knicks are able to somehow, some way hold on, pull it off. Mikal Bridges, who was like just incredible defensively in this one down the stretch, 51 minutes, makes a game-winning play, anticipating the lob to Jaylen Brown, getting there at the exact same time. And I think my favorite part about that, we've associated Bridges all year with like frailty and lack of physicality, and he just rips the ball out of Jaylen Brown, who's freaking jacked, just rips the ball out of his hands, throws it in the air. Knicks take game one. Gutty game from the wings, 51 minutes for Bridges, 46 for Anunoby, 45 for Hart. I think what those three guys did in the third quarter, particularly Anunoby and Hart, kind of flipped this game on its head.
Yeah, I was going to say, a game full of guys ripping the ball out of people's hands. Josh Hart did the exact same thing late in this game, forced a turnover where I forget who it was.
He had one on Peyton Pritchard. I don't know if you might be talking about a different one.
I think it was the one on Pritchard where Pritchard ends up on the ground.
As in the third quarter, yeah.
Right, and Hart just reaches down, grabs the ball out of his hands. Almost looked like it was going to be a jump ball, but he got such a good tug on it that he managed to just pull the ball completely free, start a fast break that way. And that one led to a Brunson 3, if I recall correctly. I mean, just a crazy good game from him and from OG and from Mikal. Like, I think the big thing from the Knicks here is, like you mentioned, the huge 3-point shooting miss number. But, I mean, the fact that the Celtics wound up shooting 63s as a team in this game is crazy because I don't think they wanted to shoot that many threes. I think that early on it looked like they wanted to try to exploit getting inside, try to get to the line. But this is not a team that spent a lot of time at the free throw line this year, and the Knicks might have sort of figured out their Achilles heel a little bit here, where they're not exactly adept at getting inside despite having this 5-out spacing. They were playing a little scared on the inside, honestly. Like, whenever they would get there, the Knicks were sending aggressive help defense under the hoop, which was then forcing guys into panic situations where they're trapped on the baseline, having to kick it out to someone. And then, to the credit of OG and Mikal and Josh, they were like fully ready to close out on any given guy, even if it was like sort of like, I don't want to call it a half-hearted contest, but like a contest that you looked at on TV and said, like, oh man, I don't know if he got all of that one. Like, as far as a contest, it's clear that, like, at a certain point Boston started hearing footsteps and it was affecting their shots. Like, their threes just looked really off down the stretch of this game. Like, they seemed shook. They seemed like they were afraid of, the Knicks defenders getting a hand in their face, because more than one time, and particularly Bridges had a phenomenal block 3 point in this game. But, like, these guys were getting those long arms in people's faces and really making themselves be felt, to the point where then it had guys second guessing later on if a guy was close enough to potentially, block their shot or whatever, and you could see it affecting their release and everything. I don't know if, like, look, the Celtics, to their credit, also have a ton of really great tough shot makers that just didn't make tough shots in this game. Obviously, we've seen it from Jason Tatum throughout this regular season. Jaylen Brown has done it to the Knicks at different times. Porzingis didn't play the whole second half, which I don't think should go unrecognized. Like, that was definitely a big portion of the Knicks being able to get things together in the second half. I think was just, he didn't play well in the first half, but his presence was felt. Yeah. And, not even having that presence in the second half, Luke Cornett gets in foul trouble, which meant they had to rely heavily on Al Horford. And, like, that SOB is an ageless wonder, and it annoys the crap out of me. But, like, him playing 34 minutes, probably not ideal at this stage in his career, to be playing that many minutes when he's typically more of a spot minutes, like, make the most out of 15 or so minutes kind of guy. So, I think this is a huge strategic win for the Knicks that I didn't really see coming, in the sense that they sort of let Boston do what they wanted to do, in the sense that Boston loves to shoot threes. and yet they made it difficult enough for them while also being imposing enough on the inside to prevent them from doing that. That like the Celtics just didn't really have an answer for what the Knicks game plan was down the stretch. And that's why the Knicks were able to go on that huge run, erase that 20-point deficit that they accrued in the first half, and then come away with the win in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the key adjustment from Tom Thibodeau, who in games 3 and 4 against the Celtics switched in spurts. The Knicks were mostly switching from the get-go in this one. There were large with Brunson, they tried a lot of hedge and recover, and that was like, I need to go back and watch to confirm, but from what I saw, that was pretty disastrous for the most part. Like, I would guess like about half of the Celtics 15 made threes came on possessions where Brunson hedged, tried to get back, and just left someone wide open, like in that gap before the original defender could get back to his guy. But then down the stretch of this game, they were just switching him. And like, I'll give Jalen Brunson, this isn't really what I expected to lead this starting off with. Like, he did a really good job multiple times on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, switching onto them. I mean, the one in overtime where he switched onto Tatum, Tatum tried to shake him, Brunson didn't get shook, and then he bumped him and hit this and tried to go to the step back, and he ends up airballing it. Alex, you're a big Marvel guy. I'll compare it to like Thanos, like punching Captain Marvel in the face, and she doesn't flinch. That was the moment for me. That was really satisfying. I had another one with Jaylen Brown where he switched, forced the shot clock to dwindle, and then he sprayed it to Tatum. Tatum ends up missing a layup. That's at the tail end of the fourth quarter. But I thought it was a key adjustment from Tom Thibodeau because to your point, like, it got Boston mismatch hunting. And in particular, maybe some of it was that Kristaps Porzingis obviously was sick, but like Kristaps Porzingis was scoreless. I think he finished with 0 points in 13 minutes. And the Knicks early in this game did a great job switching onto him. But that third quarter run, it was 31-13 in total. There was a mini 17-4 stretch in there. To me, it was three guys, right? It was Josh Hart, it was OG Anunoby, it was Jalen Brunson. I thought Hart just like game-changing energy because the Knicks, like, I don't want to say there was no effort there because there were effort, but it was lifeless. And it was kind of like, I think a lot of the tone was set with Josh just refusing to shoot early in this game to the point that he threw a pass out of bounds rather than take an early 20-foot jumper. Like, they did not have a lot of energy. They did not have a lot of juice. They did not have a lot of confidence. And I thought Josh Hart just kind of completely flipped that like about halfway through the third quarter.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, and you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
The Oklahoma City Thunder gave away Game 1 to the Denver Nuggets.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The biggest story from this game is the Thunder just giving Game 1 away. And we've talked about Game 1 for 4 days now of how important it is and how must win it is for the Thunder, who coming into tonight, they were 3-0 in Game 1s. And you look at the statistics of teams in Denver's spot that have went to a Game 7 the round before and then travel to a Game 1 the next round with less than 3 days of rest. And those teams are now 5-19 in those scenarios since 2003. Before tonight, of course, they were 4-19 in those chances. It's not been a recipe for success throughout the course of NBA history. It shouldn't have been a recipe for success when you face off with the number one team in basketball that won 68 games, that had all of the advantages. When you break down the advantages OKC had, they had the rest advantage. They had the depth advantage on top of the rest advantage. They have a better roster. They have a coach of the year versus an interim coach. And the one thing they didn't have cost them. They do not have championship level experience. That was an inexperienced team on the floor in OKC. It just was. That was a team who couldn't handle what the playoffs bring in more ways than just the final 15 seconds. Obviously, we'll start backward and recount this game. The Thunder start their foul up 3 strategy. This is a strategy that I don't think you should take a hindsight approach to. Me personally, I've always been a fan of fouling up 3. So therefore, I will not kill the Thunder for the act of fouling up 3. The Thunder took accountability post-game from Mark to Alex Caruso, who committed the fouls, that they fouled too early. They went to the strategy too early. And specifically, Caruso's foul against Gordon. That cannot happen. It just can't. I know what you're taught. I know what the strategy is. And I know that Mark takes complete ownership of that. But as Caruso said, he's going to beat himself up tonight for doing that because Jokic is off the floor. The Nuggets don't have a timeout to get him back in the game. And you foul Aaron Gordon 90 feet from the basket when the Nuggets have no timeouts. They're down 3, and there's 12.9 seconds left. That's inexcusable because you compound the problem by the fact that Gordon, he's an 81% free throw shooter. So it's a bad idea to foul early anyway. But if you do foul early, you would imagine it's because they got the ball to the guy you wanted at the free throw line. It's not who you wanted at the free throw line if you're Oklahoma City. It's just not. So I think that when you look at this end of game management, it could have been better countless ways. Chet Holmgren has to make those free throws. But even then, the Thunder in general have to make their free throws. Chet misses those 2. Jada misses 2 earlier. Shea misses a couple free throws. The Thunder shot 71% at the free throw line. Denver shot 81%. It's a big difference. It's a big difference in a game this tight. And a game that was practically won at the buzzer. But even down to the strategies of the timeout usage by Oklahoma City, I didn't love. Because nothing about Mark Daigneault has been conventional to this point of his coaching career. And I get the comfortable thing to do is to call the timeout and advance the ball. I totally get that. And it worked to perfection with what you were able to draw up for Shea to get the opportunity to have Jokic on the bench with no timeouts and no way to get him in unless you foul. But to call after that happens, to call the timeout to advance the ball the second time where Chet misses the free throws. 1, it leaves you with no timeouts remaining to advance the ball if what happened happens. 2, I think it makes it a tougher inbound. You saw how they barely were able to get it in to Chet before a 5-second call. And again, 3, you just don't have that in your back pocket. Whereas if you have to go the length of the floor and you have the length of the floor to use, if you did draw something up that let Caruso throw an outlet pass to a streaking player down the court, that gives you even more runway to burn more clock off of the timer. And again, the easier inbound pass likely gets to a better free throw shooter. But Chet, I think understandably, will be beat up today. He also hit brilliant free throws against Memphis to ice that series. So it's like, it's just all bad. Everything's bad about the final seconds of this game. And what's even worse is that you couldn't put them away. We talk about the disadvantages that Denver has. They got down 14 in this game in the Paycom Center with all those disadvantages that we laid out on the front end, and you let them chip away. The most painful thing for the Thunder's perspective about this would be that they were the better team, the Denver Nuggets were, at the ends of the second quarter, at the end of the third quarter, at the end of the fourth quarter. They closed those 3 quarters worlds better than you did. And it just chipped away. At the end of the second quarter, it sliced the lead down, and you still felt good. You still felt comfortable. You're up by 10. Into the third quarter, it slices it down to 5, right? And then fourth quarter comes. After you grew that lead back to 10, they sliced it the whole way to in the fourth quarter. The Thunder did not start the game strong. They had a poor start to the first quarter, and they didn't close any quarter well. And they lost the game because of it. And this is why I thought it was ludicrous to pick the Thunder in short order. I picked the Thunder in 7. I'll stick by that prediction because for the Thunder to win in 7, they'd have to lose 3 times So they still have to go through 2 more losses to get to that prediction to be correct. But this certainly opens the door for Denver, as we said on the crossover show. If Denver could steal game 1 with all these disadvantages, it opens the door for them completely. And it did. And it cost them. And again, the foul stuff, you can be as kind of aggressive about it as you want to. The simple fact is, it's spilled milk at this point. It was silly to foul that early up 3. It just was. It was a terrible decision by Caruso to foul AG. But besides saying it was terrible, there's no way to fix it. They can't fix it until the next game. So, that's not even, to me, the big concern. Does it suck to see the Thunder just waste away a game? Absolutely. But the way of which they wasted it away, I think, happened through the course of the first 40 minutes versus what you saw at the end of the game in the 48th minute. There was a lot of things to be concerned about that isn't the mishaps of the fouling up 3, which is where Denver should feel pretty confident coming out of game 1, having stolen home court advantage away from Oklahoma City. Because this team throughout the night looked like a young team, looked like a team who felt the bright lights of this stage, and it's only going to get tougher. The lights will only get brighter. The pressure only mounts. The pressure that this team will feel heading into game 2 is something they haven't felt before. Because they won game 1 against Dallas last year. They got off to a 1-0 start. And in a lot of ways, last year was like a house money year where you weren't expected to be here. This year's different, and the pressure's different, and the environment's different. And how they respond to this game, just like SGA said post-game, will determine what they're made of. Will determine who they are. Are they the 68-win team? Or are they more closer to last year's Dallas performance? I think that there was good and bad in all of this. Look, you can't get to a game in the postseason and only lose by a couple points and it be a completely terrible game from start to finish. And for Denver, they have things to clean up, even though they won. Just like had that Aaron Gordon 3 not fallen, the Thunder would have technically won the game, would have had a lot of these same concerns.